The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on. I think
He missed the complete. That is crazy
As I said,
stuff.
Freitas is on the grass on the infield before. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
Out in the Appalachian Mountains, the circuit has been growing and expanding into what it is today, a modern and popular venue. Though it currently hosts mostly club-level racing, back in 1989 it saw the Kamel GT Series bring its great snarling beasts into the hills. It was a bull ring of a circuit back then, and it still is today, having not seen any major layout changes to the main course since then. Can our drivers come out of the backwoods in one piece? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 9 of the iRacing Kamel GT Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Sean Ambrose. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sean, Summit Point is another circuit that many of the road drivers on iRacing are well familiar with. Tell us about it for those who may have somehow missed this place.
All right, Joe, and this is the Summit Point main layout today. Now, this is a 10-turn, 1.98 mile circuit that will get around today here for 30 minutes. This road course features a 2,900-foot main straight. The original circuit opened in 1970. The original layout did not include the carousel presently denoted by turns 6 and 7. In the original layout, turn 5 was a 90-degree left-hander leading to a 90-degree right-hander at the entry to what is now denoted as turn 8. Therefore, the original layout had 8 turns, or 9 depending on how you counted them. The carousel wasn't added until sometime after about mid-1973. So some interesting characteristics about this track. Best viewed, though, from on board the GSRC Kamel GT.
Alright, we've got Clayton McLeod in the GSRC Nissan, so let's do a lap around Summit Point. Turn 1 will easily be your best chance for a pass, but this is a narrow circuit, and if you run into traffic at the wrong time, things could go bad in a hurry. As the track opens up coming out of the corner, be careful with the throttle since the turbo lag can quickly send you swapping ends. Turn 3 is high commitment, off-camber, and blind. That gravel trap on the outside is going to deposit lots of gunk as cars go wide all day. 4 will bleed directly into 5, and that makes passing a very hairy proposition. Things go wrong so often here, it's sometimes called yard sale corner unofficially. That takes us to the technical second half of the track, where you're mostly getting little squirts of the gas before having to slow again. Patience and a gentle right foot will pay off through here. As the track weaves back and forth, ideally you want to set yourself up for a wide angle into 9. Get on the power as soon as it's safe, and take a short breather. Turn 10 can sometimes give you a look at an overtake, but you've got to get a phenomenal run on the car in front. This medium speed bend rounds out the lap, but as we come to the line, we've now finished a lap around Summit Point. Going to be some quick laps around this little circuit, that's for sure, and we expect it to be very difficult dealing with traffic around here. However, let's take a look at the championship standings as we let qualifying continue its way on. As we bring the graphic up, you can see up at the top, Busby Miller High Life team is currently leading the way, but not by too many points over All-American Racers. There's still a relatively close fight up at the top. It's quite a ways down to third place in the Texaco Haviland Star Bayside team. And then Momo Gerhardt Racing in another jump down, and of course West Racing well down the order. This is the only the best of their 6 results, though, that we should note. You can see there on your screen. Now that was the prototypes. Let's go to the Grand Touring Teams Championship and see how they stand. Lights Inner Racing, of course, leading the way by a decent gap over Justin Berry, Team Valvoline, and then Team Highball is holding on, but of course need to play some catch-up to try and get themselves out of the bottom in third. Now, taking a look at the qualifying that's happening right now as the times start to tumble in, Arto Ihomaki up at the top right now, running a sub-minute lap here, Sean. Just incredible stuff.
Yes, it is, Joe. That's really whipping around here. In fact, the top 4 that make it top 5 as Keith Ritchie has now supplanted Arto there in the top spot. 59 looks like the number to beat right now. That first lap for Keith Ritchie at 59.199, Joe.
And then the lap time difference is something to keep an eye on as well. We're seeing sub 1 minutes at the top of the Nissan field. Well, the GTOs, the Audis, top time right now is a 1:08, so 8 to 9 second difference here in the laps. And at a track this short, that means they are going to be stumbling over these GTO cars pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's going to be something to watch out for today. I said this in the pre-race. I think there's going to need to be a little bit of patience, not only for the Nissan drivers, not only from the Audi drivers, but especially the Nissan drivers getting around here today. Certainly when you're talking about areas like turns, you get through the chute down into turn 5 and into the carousel there. Got to be so careful down there, Joe. It's a tight, narrow spot of the track. Trouble can definitely happen down there, and even quite possibly block the track. So that's a really big issue in the closing rate, as we know over weeks and weeks now of watching these cars. It's pretty incredible, the Nissan to the Audi difference on this track today. It looks like they're about 8 to 9 seconds faster. But in the Audi class, we are going to have another great battle, because it looks like Ove Trengerade is back and got both of his laps in and currently sits on the pole with a 1:08.1, followed very closely by Brian Strodbeck, who just got both of his laps in with a 1:08.3.
Good to see those two get another chance to race one another. I was watching Clayton McLeod on my screen. He just finished up his second lap, and that's the last of our Audis, I believe, or our Nissans rather, I believe, to get a lap in. Looks like we got a few that haven't even put their first lap in, interestingly. They've got time with these being so quick. 3 minutes left on the clock. You mentioned both Ove and Brian returning, and man, they have, since Brian joined this series, he's certainly put a challenge on Ove up at the front and kept things nice and tight. Looks like we have one more of the Audis still putting his lap in. Mitch Carr yet to put his first lap down on the board. He's coming around to complete that now. And what a good showing in the Audis this time around. They were a bit sparse for a few weeks.
They really were. We've got 14 of them here today, and boy, I'm sitting here smiling, Joe. I've got almost as many Audis as you have Nissans, and boy, this is going to be a glorious race here today. But listen, folks, stay tuned, stay close to your monitor, your projection television, your big screen, whatever you're watching, stay close, because this is only a 30-minute race, and it will literally be over before we know it. No yellow flags or anything like that to worry about. This will be full tilt these drivers will be on literally the edge for this race, Joe.
Here we see David Browning out to try and get his, actually, no, he's completed his 2 laps, so now he's just getting some practice in before the race, acclimating to the conditions. Believe John Keefe is getting ready to complete his 2nd lap. Running in the Nissan's currently sitting 12th with a 1:04 as he comes around the final turn. Let's see what he can turn as he crosses the line. Does he improve? Looks like it's not the case. He's going to stay in 12th at best.
You know, Joe, something else we didn't talk about with the track, and that is this track has, you want to call them holes or spots you can kind of fall out of the track in. You get off course here, you've got to be careful. You go too far, it'll put you back in the pit. Literally, you'll fall off the course, go back into the pit, just like a toe would eject you out of the game.
A flat earther's wet dream, I guess you could say.
Oh boy, yes. Yeah, boy, it certainly lends truth to the flat earth theory. Yes, here in iRacing it exists.
Only in iRacing. So Fabian Jungbluth comes on the timing sheets and actually demotes John Keefe on his 2nd lap, pushing himself into 12th. And looking through, I believe that is everyone having gotten their times in, except maybe John Kerr. I see him on -1 lap. I'm not sure how that works, as he gets his first time in, and that puts him to 29th, but he doesn't have enough time to complete his 2nd lap. So let's go through our qualifying order. Keith Ritchie, no surprise, on the pole once again. He's got about half a second over Philip Lake. Rob Olenek will be in 3rd, and then the outside of row 2 will be Arto Ihamaki. Michelle de Jong will start in 5th today, with Nicholas Mukanos in 6th. Clayton McLeod will start in 7th, our lap guide driver here today. Going to be in the mid-pack, in the thick of it. Ty Kim will be in 8th with Jamie Hall 9th. Michael Houghton rounds out the top 10 with Yit Tijan starting in 11th. Then in 12th, you have Fabian Jungbluth. John Keefe, as we said, showing up today, going to be starting in 13th, just ahead of John Hill, pair of Johns there, and 14th on the outside of row 7. Marco Kika will be 15th with Martin Krejcik in 16th. And rounding out our Nissan field that has put a time in is Jeffrey Oakley. We'll see Donald Peake and Mike Lemon starting at the tail of that field later on in our graphics. Sean?
All right, Joe. And in the GTOs today, we've got Ove Trengrade on the pole. Brian Stradbeck going to start right next to him. Those two will be fighting from the drop of the green. Ben Lafter will start 3rd. Andrew Backey in 4th. And then we've got Vil Rilola. That's a new one here today. A new Finn to the field, starting 5th. And then we'll go, let's see. I'm sorry, lost my place there. Hideki Koivitso starting 6th. Brian Shanahan in 7th. Mitch Carr, another new name there, in 7th. David Browning, 8th. Randall Sherritt in 9th. In 10th, John Kerr. And 11th, Spencer Kemble. 12th, Michael Frost. And 13th in this field today, it's going to be Boafia. We'll go with
Carradine Boafia. We've seen him in the Autobahn series.
You know what? And the name looked familiar. Carradine Boafia. Thank you, Joe. Yes, I do remember him now.
And there you see the last of our Nissans, which will grid up at the back of the Nissan field. They're waiting to do a pace lap around. Thankfully, with it being a bit of a short course, won't be too long around here. Then we'll go racing for 30 minutes here on round 9 of the Kamel GT Series. Official iRacing races here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Sean, talk to me a little bit about the combination of turn 4 and turn 5. 5 sometimes referred to by some drivers as yard sale corner, with the way it just sends drivers off into the weeds. Is it possible to take these Nissans side by side through 4 for a pass into 5, or is that a no-go?
Joe, you could try it. I didn't get to experience that in my practice, but you could try it. I just don't. I just think it's too narrow, Joe. I really do. This Nissan, it's a much wider car. but it does have a lot of grip. So we may see a couple drivers try and pull that off. But man, then you've got to try and navigate yourself into 5 and through the carousel. It's going to be it's going to be tears, or it's going to be cheers down there. Honestly.
Getting Keith Ritchie on the radio asking for a little extra gap between the fields. Apparently, this is the largest field they've had in a number of weeks. I'm not surprised about that. Free track. It tends to bring everybody out of the woodworks. There you see the gap between the classes. If you're not familiar with multi-class racing, Sean, why don't you explain to our viewers exactly why they're putting the gap between the classes?
Well, honestly, especially at this track, you want to leave a little bit more distance because things do really tighten up there at turn 1 here. You want to try and allow that class to get through the first turn and get up to speed so the second class can get started and also get through that first turn clean, open things up for them there a bit. If you don't leave that space, what you generally wind up with is quite a stacked up field if anything goes wrong in either of the classes when that green flag drops.
Absolutely. In a field this big, you really don't want that. The difference in speed may be great, but not great enough that the Audis couldn't catch them, as you said, by that first corner when everybody checks up and gets crowded in there in this first lap as the roof pace car leads them under the bridge up to turn 10. He's going to peel off to the pit entry there. Thankfully, no pit stops expected today, at least not scheduled pit stops. If you're heading in, you're in bad trouble. And right away, we see Ritchie get a good jump over second place Philip Lake. They all start to stretch out, can barely fit 2 wide down here into turn 1. Hopefully we won't see any 3 wide as everybody finds himself a little piece of track down into the hairpin of turn 1. Already checking up. A few cars going a little bit wide, and I think that's Clayton McLeod having trouble around the outside, but everybody managed to stay straight. Let's go to the Audis.
Yeah, well, they started back in turn 10. Ove Trengren got off to a great start, and on the inside, Andrew Baki, Ben Laughter trying to get by Brian Strodbeck having a little bit of trouble getting through turn 1, and now the face is up front. Baki getting around Ove Trengren, holding it down. Whoa, what a run, and here comes Laughter.
So as they come into the first turn 5 for the first time, still side-by-side action. Ove trying to hold off Laughter. He's got the inside end of the carousel, and I think he's finally got the pass done. That was Mitch Carr who had an off, and now we got a Nissan, Martin Krejcik, who might check these guys up a little bit. No, it looks like he's getting it going once again, should be able to streak away. But Mitch Carr having problems into turn 1, and the Audis getting 2 wheels off, but returning to the track.
And what a start by Andrew Baki, man. He's picked up 4 spots already.
Battle for third continues there, and the Audis. Ty Kim had an off and has taken a tow to the pits. In the meantime, through the hairpin, Brian Strodbeck is going to be able to hold off Ove Trengren, get himself into that podium.
And I feel like this is the second time today I've had to say this, but Ove Trengren struggling here early in this race, just like he was in the Lotus 49 earlier this morning, Joe.
See if he can regroup, as this is the closest battle for the lead between the 2 classes. Baki not able to pull away, really being kept accountable by Laughter, Strodbeck, and Trengren as they weave their way now through the S's onto the backstretch. Up at the front of the Nissans, we don't have to go to it. Keith Ritchie leads by 1.2 seconds already, showing his dominance over Philip Lake. A little bit wide for Ove Trengren as Brian Strodbeck gets a run off of turn 10. Laughter holds to the left. They brake heavily down for turn 1. Strodbeck on the move, trying to make up for the bad start. Bangs doors into turn 1. But comes out solid, and now he gives chase on Baki.
Looks like Brian's gotten rid of his case of the yips and is ready to race a little bit now.
Great move into that first corner, and look at Tranquerade already onto the back of Laughter, seeing if he can get back into this fight. Everybody single file now into the carousel. Meanwhile, up in the Nissans, the battle seems to be for third place as Olenek leads a train that's got Ihamaki, Mukanos, and De Jong all close behind. Found out that Ardo Ihamaki actually works in IT sales and support in real life. As he works his way, currently running in 4th today. Wow, Stradbeck is getting very close to Backy already. He's wasting no time trying to retake the lead in the Audis. Apologies to the Nissans, really not a lot of action happening over there at the moment worth covering when the battle for the lead is on, and Stradbeck peeks his nose out through 4, but a defense move down to the inside of 5 by Backy leaves him behind.
Yeah, I think Backy knows he might be on borrowed time. Again, it was a great start to this race by him that's got him up in the lead right now, but Stradbeck definitely wants it back. He wants the front of the field back. You know, the battle behind them between Laughter and Tranquerade is still a really, really good one also. Ove keeps stepping out looking like he's going to make a move and then can't quite pull it off. Again, looks, takes a peek, nothing there. Being pretty patient right now. I don't want to be too patient, though, and let those two get away.
Oh, bad exit by Laughter. He knows that he went to the inside immediately. Here comes Tranquerade trying to outbrake him around the outside into turn 1. This is going to be a hard ask, though. Both of them steady on the binders. Loses grip around the outside, and Tranquerade's going to have to regroup for another go.
We're going to come right back at him here, Joe.
Hard to get inside a car down into turn 3 like that, and it does not work out. That was brave.
Thought it was going to set up for what you talked about earlier, and that was cars going side by side into 4, but not quite. Now it's going to get exciting, Joe. The Nissans have found the back of the Audi field now.
We could see some passing opportunities up at the top of the field here, catching him in a horrible place as Keith Ritchie is stuck having to wait behind Corey Visto. Thankfully, he's got a bit of an Audi separating them now. Squeezes through as Philip Blake now has to deal with Corey Visto. Gets a nice long stretch up to the final turn. Is he going to catch him in time, though? He sends it in deep. Manages to sneak it through. That was brave. Ben Laughter side by side once again. This time he's on the outside of Tranquerade, who finally gets the pass done, and just in time as Keith Ritchie, our leader in the Nissans, is now rocking up behind them. As we see side by side action with Mukanos.
Yeah, they were 3 wide at one point there, Joe. Oh boy.
Trying to squeeze through, using the traffic as a pick. Once again, it's Hideki Koivisto, who holds off Michel de Jong, trying to find his way through. Gets denied, coming into turn 4, goes around the outside, and there's more battles behind them. McLeod and Jamie Hall going side by side into the S's. It's a traffic jam.
Hideki Koivisto just doing the best he can to let everybody by.
And Ardo Ihamaki is caught up to Lake for that second position, using the traffic, but has a terrible exit out of turn 10 and loses ground.
And you've got Stradbeck up and Backy just in front of him now. As they continue to race, it's going to be another battle in front of them.
Nicholas Mukanos catching up to the back of Olenek now, as they got held up by Laughter, sneaking to the inside down through turn 3, gives them just enough room. That is some trust there as Mukanos just squeaks through. It is a train of Nissans on our Audi leaders right now, playing havoc with their fight. Ooh, wow, close moments between Tranquerade, Jamie Hall, and Ben Laughter. Almost gets into the side of train grade once again, now getting out of the carousel. Apparently John Kerr has had some problems in the Audi. That was going wide at turn 3, and then he just pulled over and stopped. I'm not sure what happened with Kerr. Oh, we've had a problem in the back. Unfortunately, Don Peak getting on the power a little bit too soon, coming into the carousel, spins it, and finds the wall. He's able to continue on after this. Not sure, I think that was Martin Krejcik, maybe? Or no, that was Jeff Oakley sneaking by that we saw returning to the track.
Boy, one car still trying to clear Stradbeck and Backy here. It's Jamie Hall, kind of caught in their battle right now. It hasn't really interrupted it much, but Jamie having trouble getting around in a very, very bad part of the track for him to get around. And looks like Backy going to move out of the way and let him go. But again, Brian Stradbeck still chasing, still letting this Nissan traffic getting through.
Oh, and John Hill has a problem. Looks like he was stuck behind traffic, Brian Shanahan ahead of him. And then as John Keefe came up behind him, the pair of Johns went off the track at 9. Both of them able to continue. Keefe maybe miscalculating when Hill was going to try and get his way through the traffic. Fortunately, Hill has entered the pits. Going to repair some damage, it seems. Still, that's the first of the Nissans we've seen, or excuse me, second of the Nissans, as Ty Kim also has had to come into the pits, and Ty has actually retired. Otherwise, all 19, or 17 of our 19 Nissans are still out there. It seems more of the cars in the Audis are out of here, with Kiradine Boafia, Mitch Carr, and John Kerr also having retired.
Yeah, they've called it a day.
Oh, spin. And that's Youngbluth that we saw spinning, coming off of turn 10.
And you know who hit him? Brian Stradbeck's going to catch that.
Ooh, just on the side. We're going to watch on board Stradbeck. This is exactly what you don't want, hoping that suspension is not damaged.
Well, he's definitely going to pick up some damage there on the left front.
Because we're our Audi leaders. Unfortunately, getting into the mess that was Fabian Youngbluth's spin.
Youngbluth now still battling with him. He just got by Stradbeck. Stradbeck doesn't appear to have lost much here, Joe. Might have gotten away with one there. He already had some damage on the left side door, but that left front damage is new.
Meanwhile, looking at this battle up in the Nissans, Rob Olenek leads Mukanos and De Jong. No traffic around at the moment, just a fight amongst themselves just for a brief respite as they work through 3. Already seeing a lot of dirt build up off that corner. Many cars going wide. They're coming up on the car of Mitch Carr. And at the worst possible spot, but he holds off to the outside and almost
Carr
spins.
spinning.
That was Carr.
Yeah,
Mitch Carr.
Yeah. Mitch off the track in his car. He gets back under power without hitting anything, luckily, and waits to let everybody get by.
Side-by-side action between Shanahan and Villaruola. Those two sorted out into turn 1, so move Villi up into 5th in the Audis. We haven't really paid attention to that number 15 car, but having a solid race.
Yes, he is, Joe, and one of the newcomers that we mentioned, Villi, having a decent run. He is up 2 spots currently and has that 5th spot nailed down, and in about 3.5 seconds he can catch Andrew Backy if he keeps it up.
De Jong really getting close onto the back of Mukanos. Now wait, what happened to Andrew Backy? How did he slip down into 4th? I'm going back to check. Oh, he had an off within this lap.
I found it. Yeah, he did have an off, Joe, and it allowed Laffer to get.
This was driver error, too. You're going to see as he goes wide through 4, just a little bit of the grass, and John Keith doing a beautiful job avoiding the number 11. That slips Backy down to 4th. Wow, significant change up at the front. That means it's down to Strodbeck and Trangeray, the 2 we expected to be battling for the lead. Certainly not in the way that we thought it would develop. These were the front row of our Audis. Now that they've returned to their qualifying pace implied, are we going to see a titanic fight between these two behemoths?
Well, Trangeray's got to catch him first, Joe, and as we come around here, out of turn 10, Trangeray pick anything up here coming up the straight, maybe just a little bit.
Oh, not long ago, we were watching the battle between Mukanos and DeYoung, and Mukanos actually got shunted off in the carousel.
Yeah, Ardo Iamaki makes some contact with him there, coming off the exit of the carousel, actually. And, boy, that didn't end well there for David Browning. That jams him up into the tire barrier.
There we see Mukanos' accident with Michel DeYoung. Separate one than what... and did Mukanos get high-centered? Does he get out of it? Oh, he manages to get out of it. Not something you see often in iRacing. Got to be embarrassing getting stuck like a seesaw out there. Starting to see some of our Nissans actually get lapped by their own class as well. Jeff Oakley, Mike Lemon, and Don Peak have all gone lap down. Martin Krejcik, the last of the GTP field, still on the lead lap. Meanwhile, Richie has been caught by Philip Lake. It was up to almost 2 seconds at one point. Traffic has not gone his way. Lake keeping it within a second now. And this is good to see Lake up this high, Sean. He's said in the past that he doesn't think he races as well as he practices. I don't think that's the case today.
It doesn't look like it, does it, Joe? Not at all. Boy, and I'm watching the GTOs, of course, and man, they are just battling with so much of this traffic right now. Andrew Backy trying to get back into this race, trying to catch Ben Laughter, and now Ardo Iamaki and Rob Olenek are there and have caught those two and trying to get through in the most difficult part of this course.
And that's Martin Krejcik up ahead of our leader. So it's not just the Audis that's causing problems, but the lapped Nissans. He's going to pull off and lift just a little bit to let our leader through. And a late dive there in from Philip Lake. He gets the timing just right. And I think we're getting a message here from Martin. I didn't quite catch it. Let's see if we can get it. We're going to see if we can get a clear view. Krejcik. All right. Thank you, Martin. That's clever. Also, nice paint scheme. I like the tic-tac scheme on there.
Makes me kind of want a tic-tac.
Absolutely.
They still make tic-tacs?
Oh, of course.
Okay, all right.
Hopefully, I would hope the orange ones are still around. Those things are like candy. Meanwhile, we're hearing a bit of chatter. Oh, Olenek having some problems potentially here? Sitting stationary on the entry to the carousel. What happened to Rob?
All by himself in the middle of the carousel there. Maybe back to the throttle. A little bit too quick here, Joe. Oosh. And he goes around.
Oh, yeah, rear of that car.
Let a lot of people by.
That Toyota having to wait a long time. Traffic is almost nonstop at this point, as in the NASCAR, as they call the conveyor belt, happening here on a road course.
How about Shasta? They still have Shasta, Joe?
I don't know on that one. Oh, Michel de Jong also running into some problems. This one with an Audi. Coming into turn 3, just misjudged it looks like. Didn't expect him to slow that much.
Boy,
A little bit of an apology from Philip Lake on Mitch Carr as well. Didn't quite catch what happened between them.
oh, Michel
de
de
Jong.
Jong. Oh no, de Jong gets into the back of Kimball.
And that's the
Spencer
same.
Kimball.
That's the same car as before.
Yeah, Kimball was trying to stay out of the way, and boy, comes back across, gets de Jong there, and de Jong up the hill into the fence. What a mess! Has to take the toe back.
Oh.
That's going to end his race.
And Michel's actually has actually come on and apologized for the move. Feels that he's at fault for that one. Good to see good sportsmanship between them there. That gap between our leaders into the GTPs, Richie and Lake, staying stationary at about 1 second. It's increasing just a little bit now, up to 1.5. As a little bit of traffic holds back Philip Lake. As the times continue to yo-yo back and forth, let's check in on our GTO leaders as well,
Yeah.
who really haven't been able to separate.
No, they haven't. Strodbeck's still in the lead, and man, he's wheeling a hurt machine. He's still doing it pretty well because Andrew Backey Ove Trengrade not able to get around right now. They have been dealing with non-stop traffic coming through. Been very, very tough for Ove to make any kind of move on Strodbeck because he does seem to be handling the traffic just a tad bit better. And then you got to go back to Ben Laughter. Finds himself in third, but not close enough yet to mount a charge. He's got a ways to go to catch these guys. He is 8.5 seconds behind Ove Trengrade.
Oh, and Brian Shanahan just had some trouble with Don Peak coming into the final corner. Peak a little bit late into there and unfortunately tips Shanahan around. You're going to see the green and black Nissan of Peak just sticks his nose in a little bit too late, and the number 25 manages to correct and get it going again without too much trouble, thankfully. Now, I'll let our audience in that there was a bit of banter and debate before we went live on which would be more chaotic, Lime Rock Park or Summit Point. And Sean, I believe you were in favor of this one being more chaotic. Am I right?
I was, and you're reading my mind because I was just about to bring that up. Yeah.
I think this has actually been calmer.
Do you? Okay.
Well,
right.
we have fewer. Okay, let me put it this way: there's fewer DNFs that I'm seeing at this point in the race,
and we still have just under 9 minutes to go. No, I guess this has been a little bit more calm. It does seem like at least the leaders have had a better job of navigating the traffic.
Oh, and McLeod having some problems. This was traffic, but he didn't touch the traffic. Coming down into yard sale corner, Michael Frost, where he did not expect, has to bail the last moment. I think he clipped those tires on the inside there, unfortunately, for McLeod.
He did, and he took a chunk out of the right side of his car.
He gets going once again, but a little bit farther down the order, still managing to be within the top 10. Sean, I get the sense, as we ride on board, what a wild ride that was. I get the sense this is one of those races where if you keep it out of trouble, you keep it pointed forward, you're going to get a good finish. Yeah,
you probably are going to get a pretty good result. Several drivers in the GTO field, it could stand to wind up with a good one today. How about Randall Sherritt, back riding now in 7th in class, I think. You know what? Randall's had a quiet race. We haven't said anything about him, but he's one of those drivers that could stand to get a really good finish by just nature of staying in this thing and staying out of trouble.
Sitting in 8th currently in the number 27. Good to see him get some screen time. I love that scheme, to a very retro Apple scheme on that car. Not without some damage, as we can see. Michael Houghton has caught up to Jamie Hall for the 4th position. What a run for Jamie this has been. Started at 9th, now looking at a top 5. Oh, and some problems coming out of the corner. Hall almost spinning it, managed to make a good catch. So not without his problems as well today. Then, battle for the lead as a Nissan comes through. In our GTO field, that's Fabian Jungbluth sneaking by both Strodbeck and Trangerade. I almost think that interrupted a move that Ove was attempting for the lead.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Joe. He was going to step out there, and then boom, there's the Nissan on his right. He's not able to do that. Misses an opportunity there. Only got about 6.5 laps left in this race. Ove's running out of opportunities to get around Strodbeck.
Meanwhile, fourth, Michael Houghton and Jamie Hall side by side in the first quarter. Jamie having to work around the outside, can't hold on to it. Houghton now moves himself up. Hall not liking that first corner, very unsteady into 3 there as well, way off the apex. They're going to go by Vila. Oh, I thought they were going to go by Ruola, but tries to squeeze through on the left side. Manages to make it by and not lose the position. But tight moments there between classes.
You think this is what Villarreal was counting on there, Joe?
I think he was holding left. I don't think he expected him to come through at the last second there.
Thinking to himself, I didn't sign up for this.
Meanwhile, Houghton still under threat from Hall. Wants to get that position back. The gap between our GTP leaders is up to 3.5 seconds, so no battle there as Don Peak lets these two through. And in case there's new viewers to the series that haven't been watching the previous races, yes, that is in relation to me. That's my father out there running. All dropping off a little bit as Houghton starting to get himself a little bit of a breather. Moving from 10th to 4th, just as good of a run as Jamie Hall here today.
Joe, big development here. Ben Laughter has been caught by Andrew Backey. This is going to be a battle over these next 5 laps.
Oh, and he's got a good run on him. Looking around the outside of turn 10. Oh, a little bit of a tap to the back. Both of them able to continue. And now, to top it off, here comes our battle for 4th place in the GTP field right behind them as they go side by side. Backey to the inside trying to defend. Excuse me, Laughter to the inside trying to defend.
Oh, Strodbeck off the track, up the hill. Sorry, Joe. I had trouble on a wagon bend. And that gives it to Ove Trengerade.
We're going to watch the replay as we watch that. The battle is still going on between our 4th place drivers of Hall and Houghton. They managed to finally weave their way through the battle between Laughter and Backey. We've seen those two go at it quite a bit this season in the Audis. As we watch the Nissans continue to stream by. Now down to 3 minutes to go. Time quickly running out. A little bit off course there for Jamie Hall out of the final quarter.
Sorry, Joe.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say Strodbeck tried to attack. It didn't quite work out for him down in turn 1.
Side-by-side battle on screen, though. Down into turn 1. Backey around the outside of Laughter. Can't quite get it done. And that is brave stuff to me here, Sean, because these cars are a little bit notoriously wobbly under braking.
Yeah, and these two are putting on quite a show for us right now. Backey just not willing to let the pressure off here. He knows this podium spot is his if he can just find the way to get around. Laughter just making it tough at every turn.
And this is not a battle for position behind them. That's Krejcirek and Don Peak trying to find a way past, but both being patient, knowing that they're not fighting for position. Nicholas Mukanos also coming up behind them. 1 and 2 gets by, and Mukanos tries to stick his nose in at the last second. Oh. And he apologizes for that.
Stradbeck going to the lead here, trying to get it. They are side by side, heading into Wagon Bend.
Oh, banging doors.
Bit of a hip
Bit
check.
of momentum on the outside for Stradbeck. He's going to have the inside for 4, but the outside for 5. Can he hold on to it? He's not as brave, holding on to the speed. To the inside, smoking the tires, sliding it out, still managing to keep it outside of Stradbeck. Ove Trangrade finally takes the lead away.
Oh boy, this is a great battle.
He's going to have another go at him before this is done. With a minute left to go on the clock. Can he get close enough out of the last corner? Stradbeck. Is he going to send it in deep? Tries to get himself a launch, but just not good enough. Trangrade stays out of reach.
This is where Stradbeck may be at a disadvantage with that front end damage he's got, Joe. But he's better in the turns.
Holds him
Get
off.
him here.
Down into turn 1. Meanwhile, with the clock ticking down, I believe we're going to get the white flag for Richie this time by. That gap between himself and Lake up to now 3.5 seconds. This has certainly been a lesson in traffic management. These two have shown how you do it. They've stretched it to over 8.5 seconds over the next car. That's Ardo Ihamaki.
Boy. I just don't know if Stradbeck's got a last gasp left in him back here in the GTOs.
They're split by Mike Lemon, who's trying to get his lap back from the Audis after earlier troubles. Yeah, I think that's a little bit too far back, and especially with the traffic coming through on Stradbeck, unless... almost sticks it in, and Mukanos goes wide, letting him back through, trying to keep Stradbeck from getting into him. Meanwhile, we've got to go to our leader, Keith Ritchie, coming to the line. He's been nicknamed the King, and he showed why, taking another win here at Summit Point for the iRacing Camel GT Series. And how about the woodworker from England, Philip Lake, with a wonderful podium there in a second.
All right, Joe. Ove Trangrade coming through the S's now.
Oh, and this is a whole string of Nissans that want to try and get through Stradbeck at the absolute worst time. Now they're able to stream by.
Just couldn't have come at a worse time, just like you said. That's a tough break for Stradbeck. Ove Trangrade going to win this race here in the GTO class today. Give second to Brian Stradbeck. What a hard-fought battle between those two. Man, it was great to watch.
Whoa! Trying to stay out of the traffic ahead of him, slowing up. Great battle between Trangrade and Stradbeck. That's what we've been wanting to see between these two. Glad to see Stradbeck back in it. But in the meantime, we are going to take it to break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Up on your screen, you can see all the upcoming races that we're broadcasting. After that, we'll have the official results as well as driver interviews, so don't go away. Welcome back to Summit Point, West Virginia. This tiny little track hosted the Kamel GT series, and well, up at the front, it's been the driver who's been so dominant whenever he shows up all season long who took the win. Keith Ritchie, King Ritchie, as some of them have called him, takes the win over Philip Lake, who after the race said that if he can't beat Keith with that race today, then he'll never beat him because he, in his mind, ran a perfect one today to take home that second place. Ardo Hiyamaki didn't give him a whole lot of screen time, but what a run to third to finish out our podium. Michael Houghton as well, with an excellent race going from 10th to 4th. He fended off Jamie Hall late in the race, who took a 5th, with Yit Tijan finishing 6th behind them. Nicholas Mukanos definitely had his fair share of troubles, but finished in 7th. Rob Olenek as well, a little bit farther down than we're used to seeing for Rob, usually fighting for podiums. He finishes 8th today. Marco Kika, the mailman, he finishes in 9th with Fabian Jungbluth, another driver running into some issues with traffic, finishing 10th today. Clayton McLeod, our lap guide driver, unfortunately just outside of our top 10 and 11th. Martin Krejcik, hopefully we're getting that one right now, in 12th. Jeffrey Oakley in 13th. Donald Peak finishes in 14th today, and rounding out our Nissans that saw the checkered flag is Mike Lemon finishing 15th.
All right, and now we will go to the GTO class and Ove Trengerade, your big winner there today. Brian Strodbeck fought with him the whole race. He'll finish second. Ben Laughter with a great run and a third-place finish. Andrew Backey will settle for 4th. The newcomer, Ville Riola, going to finish 5th. Brian Shanahan in 6th. Hideki Koivitso, 7th. Randall Sherritt, 8th. Spencer Kimball, 9th. Michael Frost, 10th. And David Browning had his race cut short, unfortunately, 11th. Mitchell Carr, 12th. John Kerr, 13th. And 14th going to be Caradine Boafia, who actually, Joe, didn't get to start this race.
Sad to see that Caradine wasn't able to get out there. He's usually a top runner in the Autobahn series. Would have been like to see what he could do in that Audi. In the meantime, we have a few drivers to talk to from the top of what looks like mostly our Nissans. I believe we've got second place, Philip Lake, ready to talk to us here after the race. And Philip, you said that was a perfect race for you. Absolutely nothing you would have considered you could have improved anywhere?
Hi guys. No, I don't think anything could have gone any better today, really.
Impressive, considering this is such a small, tight track with one of the largest fields that this series has seen in a long time. How did you feel about traffic out there? It seems like a few guys had problems, but from what our view was, it looked a little bit better than what we saw at Lime Rock.
Yeah, no issues with the traffic today. It's quite tough to pass them through the twisty section. And there's a couple of opportunities that are a little bit risky that I was taking them today. So, I mean, that's why I said it was the perfect run for me. I went for the risky moves and I still managed to pull them off, and, everything went well. So, yeah, it was a good run.
Was there any point that you felt like maybe you could have an attack on Keith and some of the traffic? Were you ever close enough? We saw you get within a second a couple times.
Yeah, unfortunately, the only times I got close enough to him were through the windy section where you can't really pass. So I don't think I was ever really close enough to have a go.
Well, disappointing to see that you couldn't maybe have an attempt at it and maybe hope for a possible win out here on the broadcast. But again, a second place, very worthy. And as you say, a very well-run race today in that Toyota.
Yep, thanks, guys.
That was Philip Lake, second place finisher in the GTP field. Next up, we also have second place in the GTOs. Brian Strodbeck has come to talk to his friend Sean.
Yes, second place, but number one in our hearts, Joe. Brian Strodbeck. Brian, first of all, congratulations. It's always great to be on the podium. But second, talk to me about the start of the race. What happened there? They ganged up on you, man.
Yeah, I threw a shift. I missed a shift. I just messed up. I did the same thing in qualifying too, so I think that why I started second place there.
All right, so we've been waiting all season again to see another great battle between you and Ove. We got it today. Talk us through that a little bit. How much fun was that for you?
Oh, that whole race was a blast. Something happened to him. He got back a little bit behind me. I think he was in like fourth place, and I kind of lost track of him. And me and Andrew were battling hard, and we got into some trouble, and I damaged my left quarter. And then from then on, I just felt like an injured seal swimming with sharks.
Yeah, the car didn't look great, Brian. I suspected that you might have been struggling a little bit with it, but you still had great pace. And again, the closing laps between you and Ove, that battle you guys had going was great. I think there over the last couple laps, though, there was just too much traffic to contend with. Is that really what it came down to there in the end?
Well, I think the traffic got me back to him after he got by me. Otherwise, I think he would have just smoked me at that point if there was no traffic around.
Well, it's still a great week, a great points week. Like I said, second place, definitely not a bad place to wind up. It's where you started. Now, next week, we've got this 500K race and at Road America. And I guess the big question is, will you be doing this and that next week?
Yes and no. Unfortunately, I am working next Saturday, and so I'm not going to be able to I won't be on the broadcast. I'll be able to do one of the 500Ks, probably the first one, and that's probably it for me.
Gotcha. Well, we're really going to miss you next week, and so is Ove, if he plans to be here, I'm sure. But for this week, congratulations. Another great run. Always fun watching you get around. It looks like you finally decided to put a paint job on the car, too.
I've had the paint job for a while. You guys probably just didn't download it correctly.
Oh, man, I must have been missing it. Okay. All right. I was still remembering that maroon car with the black. So anyway, well, hey, listen. Great job, and congratulations. We'll see you next time you make it back, buddy.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you.
All right, Joe. That was Brian Strodback, and let's see. Going to go and talk to Mike. Move him in here. Mike Houghton. Joe, you've caught up with him.
Absolutely. The fourth place finish day in a spirited battle with Jamie Hall in the closing stages. Mike had, from our view, a pretty good race in that Commodore machine. How do you feel about finishing up fourth in that number 7 today? Mike, you got a copy? Having some microphone troubles, unfortunately, with Michael.
Can you guys hear me?
There we go. Now we got Mike.
Hey guys, oh man, that was one of the toughest races I've ever had to do on iRacing. That was Traffic Jam City.
It certainly seemed like it. It was almost like a bit of a NASCAR race, with it being just a conveyor belt at points with nonstop action around the track. How do you go about mentally getting ready for dealing with that in what is an incredibly fast car?
Well, this is my third race in the car, and I think just to get mentally ready, you have to get your expectations pretty low, because then you get agitated and you get frustrated when something doesn't go your way. And that's how I took the race. When it started, I tried to take it nice and easy, no mistakes, and then capitalize on other people's mistakes.
Now, talk to us about this paint scheme. It seems to have gathered a lot of praise from your fellow competitors. It seems pretty popular. Is there a reasoning you've got Commodore 64 on your car?
Well, Ben, one of our teammates, he made that paint for us for the Mind Trick Motorsports team, and it looks good. It looks like something out of the 80s, out of the 90s, and it fits the series.
It certainly does, and I'm sure fans of the old Commodore computers are really loving it as well. Again, congratulations on the fourth, and thanks for coming and talking to us.
Thank you, guys. See you next time.
That was Michael Houghton today, whose lowered expectations were met with a wonderful finish. Also with a good finish in the Audis, we've got Andrew Backey talking to Sean Ambrose.
Joe, there were fans of the Commodore 64?
Oh, plenty. I know. I have lots of friends who like that.
Andrew Backey, hey, buddy, that was an exciting race today. talk to us a little bit about the battling that was going on track with you there.
I mean, this is why we come out and race. Also, why we don't call it after qualifying. I was able to get a good start there at the beginning, and unfortunately lost it there in the kink, which is about the one spot where I tend to lose it if I do anywhere. Fortunately, I didn't collect anybody, but yeah, it was great having 4 of us out there duking it out, and looking forward to more of that.
Man, as the laps were winding down, I wondered, did you have anything left to get the lap, or it was just the traffic making its way through that made it so difficult?
I did make a move. Don was coming through and was on the inside, and I knew that was my chance to pin Ben over on the right side, make the move around the outside while he was slowed down. And my tires were starting to go, and I had a little tap on Don, went wide, and that was the race. But, it was one of those, it was a 50-50 shot of me being able to pull it off, and I just had to take it.
Well, sir, you took it, and you know what? It's going to be a really solid points day for you here. It was, I don't know, that was probably about as fun a race as we've had this season. This course, we debated before the race whether that Lime Rock race from just weeks ago or this race would have more carnage. It looks like this race was actually wound up being a little bit more behaved. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, everything seemed to settle down nice. I think here there's a lot more corners where the Nissans really just have to sit back, and there's no chance of them coming through. So I think that helps a little bit.
Well, Andrew, thanks a lot for taking a moment and talking to us. We will see you next week when we head back to Wisconsin and Road America, and we'll see you then.
Looking forward to it. 500 kilometers next week.
All right, and apparently Andrew's going to be one of those guys, Joe, that's going to be completing in that 500-kilometer race next week.
Absolutely, and if you're looking forward to watching that, we definitely recommend you check out our friends over at Race Spot, who are covering the race next Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern, if I'm getting that correctly, double-checking. Yes, all right, so we're there's talk amongst ourselves, see if we want to run in that race, so we might have time. We'll see. But I'm looking forward to either running or watching it. It's always a joy to watch these cars. We will be covering the shorter version, the official version. We'll get to that in a second. But before we do, let's thank a few people. Of course, thanks to the Kamel GT community for gathering together and getting this show on the air. And of course, to Rob Olenek for his help in organizing that. And to Andrew Backey, who both runs the VCR Championship, which we cover in those points early on in the broadcast, and for making those great intro videos, those retro videos that we watch each week. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Sean, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel or Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel. The next race that we're covering is also at Road America. However, that's going to be 30 minutes like the usual races here. That'll be the same day, Saturday, August 19th, at 1 p.m. Eastern. So you can catch 2 Kamel GT races in a day right in a row if you want to. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.